Okay, so hello and a very warm welcome to today's webinar within our .Rural webinar series Digital Bytes. .Rural is an Erasmus Plus funded project aiming at improving the digital skills in rural tourism. And my name is Christina. I'm very pleased to welcome you all on behalf of the project lead partner today. So we are the Institute Centuris at the University of Passau in Bavaria, Germany. And Centuris is an institute specialized in market research and data-driven insights. And in all our activities, we aim to bridge the gap between science and practice through applied, solution-oriented approaches. And yeah, we have been founded 25 years ago with a very strong focus on tourism development in our Lower Bavarian region. And still nowadays, we continue to work very closely with a wide range of stakeholders, including public authorities, destination management organizations, and tourism businesses. And one of our partners for several years is ByTM, the Bavarian Tourism Marketing Board. And so it's a great pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Markus Garnitz, who is the head of the digitalization department of ByTM. And during the last years, ByTM has been advancing the deployment of open data principles and the tourism, which serves as kind of a central data hub and infrastructure for tourism information across Bavaria. And today, Markus will talk about open data and smart destinations and how digital destination development in Bavaria looks like. At the end of the session, we will also have a kind of a Q&A session, so please feel free to write your questions right into the chat. We will gather them and handle them then at the end of the session. And so, Markus, thanks a lot for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and hello, everyone. I'm happy to present you today our approach on open data and how we think open data is the basis for, a lot of digital developments, digital products, and also a basis for a way to become smart destinations. In my talk today, I will have three main parts. First of all, I will give you a small glimpse into the BioCloud tourism, what we are doing there, our technical approach, how we in terms of data collection, data aggregation. In the second part, I will take a look into open data, so why we think open data is the right approach to build upon this technical basis. And in the last part, I will show you some use cases, what we are actually doing, what others are doing with the data that we are collecting and providing for tourism in Bavaria. But first of all, a very small introduction who we are. Just 2 or 3 words about me. I'm Markus Garnitz. I'm, as already mentioned, head of digital with the Bavarian Tourism Marketing Agency. And I don't have originally a tourism background or a tourism profession, although after 5 years now, I'm kind of I have IT background and 20 plus years experience in IT and software development. So who we are the official state tourism organization of the Free State of Bavaria. So we are institutionally funded by the Bavarian State Ministry of Food, Agriculture, Forestry and Tourism. So since the last election in Bavaria, we actually have a ministry where tourism is within the name. So it already shows the importance of the tourism in Bavaria. What are we doing? Last slide on about us. We are having 2 main pillars, of course. Main task, as the name already states, is promoting Bavaria as a travel destination. So like social media marketing, print campaigns, stuff like that, everything necessary to get more guests to come to Bavaria and of course spend their holiday, their money here. And on the other side, we see ourselves as consultants for the tourism industry, especially for the destinations, for the tourism destinations in Bavaria, empower them, support with new technologies, support with questions, whatever. And all this to provide a future-proof tourism destination, Bavaria. And in my area, so in parts of digital development, what are we doing there? One of our main projects that we are handling in my in my team is the Bavarian Cloud Tourism. So what do we do there? Before we get into that, I want to take a look at what was there before the Bavarian Cloud Tourism, because there was a need to implement something like the Bavarian Cloud Tourism, because in the past, as maybe know, there was a lot of silo thinking instead of collaboration. So every organization only focused on their channels, on their websites, only provided information for their websites. There was no shared information, there was no shared standards, there was no central infrastructure. And the information was scattered across a lot of websites, a lot of channels. In the further past, also a lot of print products, still being a lot of print products out there. And as a guest, if I wanted to have information about Bavaria as destination as a whole, I had to click through a lot of websites. I had to, search, click, just to get an idea. Where's the next hike? Where's the next event? What can I do here on my holiday? And we thought and we knew we could do better here, and also need to change the metrics about this, because everyone still thought my website is the most important thing, and the only KPI I care about is how many visitors does my website have of my city, of my destination. And in the end, that's not important. Important is how many guests are coming, how long are they staying, how much money are they spending. That's what actually matters. And last point here, of course, that was not really an issue back when we started in 2021, but now it is, of course. We wouldn't have been AI ready back then, because there would have been no data to be used by the AI. So what did we do? First of all, of course, we had a vision. Our vision was every visitor, every guest in Bavaria, but not only guests, also the people living here, should have access to a centralized database where everything that's touristic relevant is available. And what's that about? So we decided we need a central data hub for all tourism relevant data in Bavaria. And you already see a long list here. This list is, of course, not complete and currently still extending, but just to give you an idea what we're talking about, of course, PLIs, museums, theme parks, hiking, cycling, events, experiences, accommodation, restaurants, of course, and a few years now also real-time data. For example, we have around 90 to 95% of all winter sport related data, like snow reports, slope openings, stuff like that, that are available within the Bayern Cloud. What are the benefits of this approach? One goal is to automatically distribute the data across multiple channels, platforms, apps, terminals, whatever. So the idea is share your data once, but get in visibility and increased reach for your data through all the platforms and through all the apps that are out there, and not just on my own website, because in general there are less people going there than to the other platforms. And also, of course, supporting the destinations or the people collecting the data by optimizing the processes. Like, one big goal is enter your data once, publish it everywhere. And also, we are trying to provide legal certainty. That's what I'm going into in the open data part. So the data can be easily shared, because we know it has a certain license that can be used by everyone, and you don't have to have legal agreements with everyone you use data of. And of course, everything is free of charge and for both data providers and data distributors. So a short view on how this technically works. It's very high level. We don't actually sit down and research all this data ourselves because that's already happening in the destinations, in the cities, in the municipalities. So we said the data is already there. We just need to collect the data, aggregate the data, bring the data into a standardized format, and then provide the data. Sounds easy. Well, it's not that easy. Actually, it took us years of effort to get interfaces and data flowing from all the destinations and cities and stuff like that in Bavaria. And we're still working on it, and every month adding new interfaces that bring us new data, because we have a very, very separated, or no, every destination has their own system and their own processes. That's kind of hard, but we are going there, and everything should be automated, so the data should flow automatically. Normally for data that isn't changing very often, like informations about the POI or a destination itself or an address or stuff like that, we import the data daily. And of course, the real-time data we normally import or get pushed into our system in like 5 to 10 minute intervals. For example, the winter sport data or data about parking situations and stuff like that. And then inside the Bayern Cloud, we verify the data, we try to optimize the data, we bring the data into a commonly usable scheme so that all the data we have is in the same format and can be used by everyone. So that was the technical approach. So we looked, where do we get the data from? The data is already there, being collected by the tourist informations, by the destinations, but they are just collecting them for themselves in the past. So we said we need interfaces to their destination management systems and integrate the data. But just integrating the data wouldn't have been enough, of course, because we are talking about copyright protected data most of the time, or in some cases, that means photographs, pictures, texts that have been written by authors, stuff like that. So we just can't just import the data and use it and distribute it, but we may need license agreements to do that. And of course, we didn't want to use proprietary licenses or make a contract or give the data users the necessity to make a single contract with every data provider, but we wanted them without any license agreement, without any written license agreement to use the data. So we said we want to use open data. Short idea, what is open data? Open data has 4 dimensions that define if something is open data. First of all, it needs to be publicly accessible, so everyone, disregarding of what he wants to use the data for, has to be able to access the data. The data must be machine readable, so in a very structured format that everyone can use. We are using schema.org there. It's a widespread format for attributes of real-world objects. It must be free of charge, so no money involved, and it must be generally free of use, so I can use it in whichever form I like, as long as it complies with the license. When looking into open data, you will soon find Creative Commons, because Creative Commons is an already established standardized license that is used worldwide, that also can be legally used in the European Union, for example, and that is commonly known. I think everyone has already heard some time about Creative Commons. The most prominent example here is, of course, Wikipedia. For example, all the pictures available at Wikipedia, and also the texts are licensed under the Creative Commons license by the people who provided this. And as said, it can be granted by the rights holder, so by the photographer or whoever is providing copyright protected material. And why? As I already mentioned, because we don't want to handle individual licenses and usage permissions for every text and picture. We just want to say, here's the data. You can use it as long as you comply with the CC licenses. And it's basically a free and easy framework to save the legal hassle and not needing contracts for everything. With everything mentioned until now, so first of all, the technical infrastructure, and on the other side, the legal framework, basically, that meant that the organizations themselves had in some kind to change or to think about the processes, also put resources behind this, because it's not like, okay, we are now doing open data and from today to tomorrow, everything is open data. We are currently talking, to give you an idea, we're currently talking about 30 to 40% of our data being open data, actually. The rest is still proprietary, so we can use it in a small set of use cases, but not offer it publicly. But a lot of destinations are now working on becoming open data. So of course, if you have a set of 1,100 data sets and several hundred pictures, you did this different photograph, and actually the photographer said it's okay, use it on your website, but you never had any agreements. Can I spread the data? Can I use it for this use case? So they are either having to re-license their existing material, or what they have to do is, go out and create new material with already back in mind that they want to provide it as open data. So as you can see, what does it need? It needs, of course, some human resources, because someone has to do it. Someone has to take the hat and say, I'm responsible for this in my destination, in my city. You need clear defined roles. You need also, on the technical part, system landscape that is suitable. For example, we sometimes are seeing destinations that are manually putting the data into 3 systems, because one system provides the information for the website, one is for the local newspaper, and the other one is for a third-party portal where they are providing the data. And this all could be automated, this all could be connected, and as a goal, reduce also the resources needed in terms of money and people to provide the data. And what we are doing there is we are providing consulting and material, for example, of course, only for the destinations in Bavaria, for example, license agreements that can be used to relicense material from photographers, for example. But as a conclusion, it takes time. We are talking about years here, not days or weeks or months, to really get that going. I think we are made really good progress in the past few years of getting into the heads of the people, getting the understanding why this is necessary, and especially, I mentioned it on one slide before, in terms of AI. Now the people are starting to understand we need a solid foundation of data that is the basis for every service and application, and also for AI. So now that was the look into the technical foundation and also the look into the legal foundation. And now I want to show you some use cases, what actually happens with the data. There is a big overview on our website. You can look deeper into that if you're interested. But the first thing you can do is use the data with our API. So you just, like any other API, you can connect and get the data. What we are doing is there's a German-wide open data hub with the destination DCT, the German tourism board, and there we are sending our data there, and some apps are using this German-wide data hub to integrate it into the apps, and also some regional offers are directly using our data from our APIs. For example, we have a very good going cooperation, almost 2 years now, with the DB Regio, the Deutsche Bahn in Bavaria. They have a tourism portal, which they in the past completely did on their own, content, research, everything. And now they are step by step deeper integrating our data because they see the data is there. We don't need to research it ourselves. We can simply use it and integrate it. Also, it's a good tool for destinations because a lot of destinations, like top level destinations like the Bavarian Forest, for example, where we are sitting here, they had no chance to get all the data from their cities, from their smaller destinations. They also have to do manually. That is now also being automated, and it is also a good use case for area. If a use case goes through different areas, for example, like Munich, Venice, or longer hiking or biking trails, if you want like POEs or relevant information along the road. And we also did that, for example, Cooperation Libre Bodensee, where German and Austrian data is used from Lindau and Bregenz to create a unified event calendar. So that is the way of using the data via API. What you also can do, what we offer is widgets. So it's an easy way to integrate into your existing website simply by adding a HTML snippet. You can filter it very easily, show the information you want to show. There are already a lot of smaller destinations and service providers like hotels using this. For example, you can integrate the city where the hotel is, always has the current information and doesn't need to take care to always do the research themselves. It gets automatically updated and stuff like that. But it can show the 10 best hikes around the location or something like that. And last but not least, we are also developing our own app, first with the goal to show the destinations, the data providers, hey, that could be a use case. This is how good data looks. This is how data looks. That's missing a picture. That has no description. That's missing attributes. So it was like, yeah, kind of a carrot to get them into the doing. And but of course, also in the long-term perspective, it should be a platform for guests and locals, and it's also an evolution of the Ausflugsticker that will phase out in your future. And last but not in this actually last slide, I mentioned it, ready for AI. We are not currently offering any service in this area, but we are testing stuff there, and we are, as I mentioned, thinking that data is the basis for AI, being it chatbots, agents, whatever. They need structured data. And we made a proof of concept there, MCP server. Some of you may have heard of that. It's like an interface for AIs, for LLMs to get outside data. And we tried that and it worked. So you can let the LLM research events for you, for example. So that was a quick walkthrough of the Bavarian Tourism Cloud, everything we do around there, technically, legally, and some use cases. I hope I could provide some inspiration. I'm also I'm already seeing some questions in the chat. Do you use OpenStreetMap? not actively currently, but because our approach in the last years was we don't want to community data, we want the official data from the destination. So we started with only using data that actually the cities, the destinations provided. But we are seeing now that's hard in a broad scale. So we are currently looking into using OpenStreetMap, Wikipedia, Wikidata, like other open data sets. How can we integrate them? How can we use them? So we're not already doing it, but we're looking into it. How exactly do small hotels and guest houses benefit? As I said, the widgets, for example, you can use them on your websites. A lot of charge, but of course only for Bavarian users.
Hey, thanks a lot so far, Marcus, for all your insights and also for your questions. I think there are two more. Yeah. Since the site is only in German, is it only aimed at local guests?
The site itself is actually not aimed at the guests directly. It's more a B2B site where people who want to use the data for the apps, for the applications, can get information how the API works, documentation, information for the destinations, stuff like that, because the Bavarian Tourism Cloud itself is just infrastructure. It's not meant to be used by the end user directly, but it's meant to provide the data for apps and services that sit on top and provide a service for the user. So it's kind of a layer down, basically.
Okay. And then there's one more. Thank you very much and very useful. And interested in an API for in my River Deep Narratives apps.
Of course, with the link you can see here, you can register for the Bavarian Cloud, and you already are inside the system. If you need an API key, feel free to contact us anytime. We offer API keys only on request to not have like a text or something on our system. But if you have a valid use case, you will get API key anytime.
Okay, perfect. Asking once more if there are any further questions, then please provide them in the chat, or you can also write us afterwards a mail and we will forward it to Marcus. If not, thanks again, Marcus, for your inspiring insights. It was very useful and interesting. So thanks a lot for joining, and yeah, see you next week.